Sumar Sleem, a Lebanese woman. We know each other since 6-7 years.
No, 2020, it's our 5th year now.
5th year, okay. Since 5 years we know each other because I'm a president of association, Domus Orientalis, and Maciek is our coordinator of international project. And the main purpose of association is constructing bridges between Poland and the Middle East, countries which are a cradle of civilization, not only of Christianity but also of culture, of Occidental world. And we construct these bridges, these connections, and later on the base of people we know and needs we discover, we construct some activities, projects. And Sumar is chef of our mission, not only for Lebanon now, but also for Syria. And it's second time she visits Poland, so she had a program during this is already almost 2 weeks, no?
It's gonna be by Friday.
Friday
yes.
will be 2 weeks. So that's why she shares our experience of this, what we do, and also to answer your questions about this, what is happening in Lebanon, in Syria. One of the reasons why we created association is exactly this communication. Because I had already experience of some visits, traveling, studies of ancient history of Christianity, and also I connected with some people in Middle East. And when I came back to Poland, I realized that this what we know about this country from TV or from YouTube is interesting, is shocking, is spectacular, but it's not true. So that's why meetings, normal conversations are also for this, to really verify this, what we have in our heads when we think Lebanon, Beirut, Syria, Damascus, Aleppo. And that's why this meeting is just to share what we have in our hearts, in our minds, not only because of this where we are, but also thinking about people and our brothers living in Lebanon and in Syria. Sumar, time is yours.
Wow.
So I suggest that this meeting, we will give Sumar 10-15 minutes to speak freely what you want. You are totally free to say, like Hyde Park. You say whatever, but we don't touch President of United States. Our association,
Yes, especially it's his inauguration day.
We
Yes,
don't touch political stuff. So this is not Hyde Park, but and after 10-15 minutes, we will talk. Okay?
Sumar Sleem, stand up, sit up.
First of all, thank you for the opportunity to be with you for the Holy Mass and to be able to interact together. Because as I came to understand that you are all here in what we call in Lebanon the pastoral of students, and we also have it in the Diocese of Beirut. And I think that most of you are here because you realize not just that you need friends, but you actually want to do something, and you feel that maybe you have a call to do something in the university, how to bring the values you have, or how to develop them, how to actually carry on a mission in the university, because being a Christian is not just going to church on Sunday, but it's actually living, and your life now is about university. So it's kind of what we are doing as well in Lebanon and Syria. Well, when I met Przemysław and Marek in 2020, I had this perception that if I see an association or organization, I will just run away because I don't like them and I don't like the way they function in our country, where usually associations are working in politics, and they always have a political agenda. And we had the financial crisis, so the currency crash, the economy was failing. We had the pandemic, and then we had the explosion of the port of Beirut. So you can imagine all this coming together. And we met in the parish of St. Michael. They came to help few households for restorations, and I was there as well because the parish priest is a dear friend of mine, and he's the one who invited me to neocatechumenal. And I'm very grateful for that. So I was there to help him, and they came also to help, and we met. We met because he told me that they needed someone to translate while they are visiting houses. For me, as a lawyer with my own practice, we were on strike at that time, and I was like truly trying to do something, but without promoting anyone's agenda. And it was happening so naturally from that day. I don't think either of us had plans for later. But then the money, there was a very touching response from Łódź with the campaign called Solidarity with Beirut. And I believe maybe your families were donating, your friends, your people you know, who donated to the accounts of Domus Orientalis or to Caritas, and the money started to flow. And we could see that we were filling a gap, a very important gap, because we were the only ones who did not have conditions, like we were not getting funds from a certain institution or from the UN. So we had this freedom to offer the help, not according to certain strict and rigid conditions. And it helped us to evolve as much and to work around things, because needs were shifting week after week. People might have needed restoration of windows and doors, then they might have needed psychological assistance, some needed furniture to be back home, some needed assistance in another form. And we always felt that we never had extra money, but we never were going short of money. Because the moment when the budget was nearing zero, something was happening. And the lists of people in need was filled with the names that who needed us. We were getting exactly the amount that would help us to assist them. And that was touching. So this is how we see our mission going on. And then later on, are my 10 minutes up? Okay. I'm trying to read your face, but it's not working. Okay. And later on, in 2021, in April, we started this initiative, YBTE. It's a group of young people, your age, some of them now, few of them graduated from university, because we were aiming at the youth, and so they can maybe be role models in the society, and actually try to break the circle where even in the universities in Lebanon, all activities are politicized. So the sports club will belong to one political party, will be labeled under one political party. The music club will be labeled for another party. So the politics was causing, and is still causing, this huge division in the society, that instead of university life and unions of laborers or doctors or lawyers can make a difference in the political parties, what was happening was totally the opposite. Politics was like a disease spreading everywhere. And it was, you can see many young people labeling themselves and just falling into this despair, saying that this is the situation and there's nothing that can be done. And we've been evolving with YBT, and I think we learned a lot from them as well during the past 3 years. And I'm looking forward to be back with them in Lebanon. The brave ones started sessions of emotional intelligence just the day I left. It was the first time they conduct with a psychologist these sessions. The second one will be this Friday when I'll be flying back. to raise the awareness in the community about the importance of emotional intelligence and how to understand yourself, how to understand the situations. So we have different topics for 5 sessions, bi-weekly sessions. And yes, this is about Lebanon, about Syria. They were already there, one of the few who decided as Domus Orientalis to be in Syria from the side of the government, because everyone was trying to assist as NGOs from the side of Turkey. But the suffering is the same, and the victims are the same, and the people are the same, regardless their religion, regardless their location. Poverty, violence, lack of education, many problems. So they were present already in Syria from 2017 or earlier.
18.
Yes, and
After all, before war,
yes.
for a while, but later 18, yeah.
And slowly I was starting to be involved, and my first visit to Syria was then to the Franciscan Latin parish in Aleppo. And it was a beginning of a wonderful journey with them, because we could see that the needs are the same, and we could bond this easily. And we had also solidarity with Aleppo campaign here after the earthquake. Of course, we in Beirut were affected by the earthquake. We felt it, like it was so strong for us, but the material damages were beyond description in Aleppo at the time. And so my story in Aleppo starts with the restoration after the earthquake, but the story of Domus starts with a program with Caritas called First Step to fund the education of the children over there and then in Beirut. I can talk over and over again about our projects and about what we do, but all I can say is that life gets crazier by the day, but I wouldn't change a thing. Because this is, for me, I believe is where I belong. And as much as the last war was difficult for us in Lebanon, I don't know if you heard about it, we had a war with Israel for 2 months. I myself was displaced. I am still living in the apartment of Domus. I hope to return home when I'm back in Beirut, and with my family. And soon after the situation flipped in Syria, we hope for the best, but we had also a very tough time checking on the young men and women in the parish if they are safe or not. And I was sharing with Marek earlier that talking about Syria is harder for me than talking about Lebanon, because in Lebanon I was in the situation. So for me, I knew that my family is safe, but I can go check damages, or I can go check my area, my neighborhood. And it was easier for me than waiting for the news from Aleppo, from the young people there, just to see a message that yes, we are safe. Because it was very hard hanging on the phone and waiting for news about their safety. So yes, I'm pretty sure this is it.
Okay, so now it's your turn.
You're not making...
What you have in your mind, what you have in your heart, what is the question, what is the statement?
Okay, so maybe I will begin.
Sorry?
I can begin with the
Yeah.
questions.
Mm.
So my question is, after all these horrible things that you encountered during your work, every day almost.
Can you speak louder?
Yes, I can.
Try.
Okay, so after all these horrible things that you encountered on your daily basis, where do you find the strength to still be able to smile, to still be able to go out to people, to be joyful, and to just to live normal?
I'll tell you the truth. First of all, because my journey with the Lord helped me, because I have this community where I get to learn the Word, and because of I had a difficult history in the past. So when I was visiting homes, I was able to sense their pain, and I was able to relate to some sort of pain I had, because I'm not that young. I just looked at, okay? And when I was able to relate, I was able to understand what it is to judge God, and how hard it is to judge God and stay out. And I was able to understand how it feels to judge the church, and how awful it feels to feel as an outcast in the church, and how important it is to go back to be in communion. Because you know how many people are blaming God for what's happening in their lives, and how many people blame the church because the church didn't do that, and the priest didn't say that, and the bishop didn't act upon. And during the visits for the homes, I was realizing, I was rediscovering the history of my life and seeing it happening with others. And because I went through this pain, I was able, when someone's saying about God or about church, it's like, but we strongly believe that God sent us to you through the church, because we got your name from the parish. And it was amazing that it's a Maronite parish in Beirut facing the port, but all other confessions were coming to this parish to enlist as people in need of for help. Because other NGOs were coming with, they had conditions, like they can help according to such and such conditions. But the needs were different from one house, from one family to the other. And entering the house, getting to know the family, getting to know the mother, the father, the elderly, the children, it helped to have the bond. And I always had the feeling that if I want to help them, I cannot be dragged in the swamp of their suffering. Because sympathy and compassion doesn't mean that you go drown with them, but to actually lend them a hand. And I have to admit also that I learned a lot from them, how to approach, how to, when you had associations coming or organizations and having this real TV makeover, like they come into the house and they renovate everything and then they leave them. And people started to have expectations that if we help them, why aren't you fixing my house like my neighbors? And they explained to us from the beginning that people cannot benefit from the disaster to improve the conditions of their lives. And one more thing we used to say, I learned it, I don't know how, but if one person would agree with us that we don't help them in what they expect us to help them, not what's actually the need, because sometimes what you need in your heart is one thing and what is actually your need is another thing. And we would ask them if they would accept to be contributors with us in helping his neighbors, because we can only fix his window or his door, but we were not gonna paint the house all over, because it was not a priority for us. And we had to shelter the people before the winter. So when we would fix, if he accepts gladly, because a no is a no after all, but when they accept us to say no, they will be contributing with us and helping their neighbor. And it actually worked. And by telling the people that the donation coming from Łódź is not a donation done by institutions, it was given by people like us. Now tell them, they are people who are struggling, who are working, who are taking out of their pockets from their basic needs maybe, just to help you. just to tell you that we are thinking about you. This is not much, it might not make a big difference, but this is the way I am telling you I want to help you. And I think God has been doing all the rest. And for me, I can smile because I can see this is giving me life. This is giving sense to my life. So yes, I'm very grateful that I can be part of this. And I wouldn't imagine myself in any other way. My mother does, but not me. And my daughters too.
They are a part of it.
Yes, but they'd like mommy to stay home. Which she never did.
If I remember correctly, closer to the beginning of when you were speaking, you mentioned that you used to be a lawyer before.
I am still an attorney at law at the bar of Beirut.
So I wanted to ask if doing both lawyer work and this charity work, helping people traveling, how do you manage all of that? Does it conflict in any way? And is there anything that's more so related to your lawyer work that helps you out whenever you do all of this?
Okay, I'll tell you. Before I worked with them, we started our mission in Beirut. My focus was on corporate and real estate law and consultations, because for me it was my passion. And as I was stating, that collaborating with an association or organization was a no-no for me. So when we got to know them, we got to know this priest who's coming from Poland and Maciej who's coming along with him. But we didn't know that they have an association. It was maybe a few days later when we started to make the visits, and we took the first picture with the bags at the time. But later on, when I had to pick up, for me, I never regret that. There are priorities. And what I do, my mission, comes first. I am a canon law as a lawyer as well, so I have also in the tribunal canonique, qu'est-ce qu'on dit en anglais?
Canonic tribunal.
Okay, the church court, like we say. But if I want to focus on something, I need to make choices in life, and for me, it's very clear. What I do here comes as a priority. How it helps? There are many features that I can realize when people are talking to me, whether they are donors or people who want to collaborate with us in Beirut, or people who want to benefit from the help we offer. And there are always these legal tricks that I can work on, or maybe the contracts or the agreements. And in many areas, when people were asking for restoration of things, but they were actually illegal additions to their house. So the lawyer side in me and my experience in real estate helped me a lot in the field. And it's conflicting. It's not a conflict for me because I have my priorities. So yes, other things can wait.
You study the law, no? What are you studying?
I study computer science.
Okay.
He's safe.
More personal question. Yep. Who's next?
I'm gonna ask a question. Can I?
Of course.
How do you perceive or think about the mission we are undertaking as Domus Orientalis in the Middle East? How do you understand it? How do you see
I wonder
it?
if they know this mission.
You just explained it.
Yeah, but yeah, okay.
What do you think Can you relate? Do you understand? Does it help you understand Middle East more or less? Or you'd say, why do I need to bother with that in the first place?
Also, I will support this question. If I can join myself to it, do you understand why we are in Middle East? Why not in South America? Why Middle East? Why Syria? Why Lebanon?
Because there's too few people to help in this place.
Maybe, but not really. There are many associations and many groups. It's not the reason there is lack of help. And in fact, it's another thing. With Maciek, we discuss this very often, because Maciek, he started collaboration with the association when we really started to do some help projects, support projects. But the main idea of association was never to offer help.
No.
And till now, we don't like to, when they call us Stowarzyszenie Pomocowe. I really don't like this because we are not there to help. Because somehow they help us. This is always the exchange of. I cannot say that we give them more than we receive.
Okay, so maybe I think with the.
But why Middle East?
Because the roots of Christianity.
Bravo. No, honestly, and it's something which is not because for Christians, and not only Christianity, but also for Europe. This is our roots are there. Europe was kidnapped from actual Turkey, a princess of king there. So there are our roots. So that's why we go there not to help them, but they are there to help us. Because if we don't have roots, if our roots are not strong enough, if it doesn't take water and all this what we need, the branches are weak, the leaves are weak. So that's why they give us much more. Because the church is there, the community is there, they are roots, we are just branches. Branch can be replaceable, but roots. And that's why one of our main, when we started, because we went there to benefit, to touch the country where our fathers lived. When we go to Damascus, we don't go to the city which now has problem with the government. We go to the city where Paul converted, where first Christian community was there. We are reading about this city in the New Testament. When we go to these countries, when we go to Lebanon, we go to first monastic community in this zone. We are going to the places which are our roots. So we go there searching for ourselves. So we benefit. And that's why we also, and when we collaborate, there's an exchange of support. And of course we had now, because it can change easily, we had the advantage of economical situation and political stability. How long?
How long? This is what. This is where.
Not to talk about politics.
No,
Yeah, no,
but I will.
Touch the concrete politics.
No, but I would like to point out something. Because of the situation over there, many of the Christians over there are immigrating, and as well as Muslims, of course. But Muslims immigrate searching for a better life, and they are usually, even in the Middle East, they are drawn to live among Christians, and they don't understand why. But it brings them some sort of peace. Then they are hurt by some incident, because we are all human, and they realize I'm a Muslim. Now, what happens with the Christians is that the less they are in these countries, in Lebanon, in Syria, in Iraq, and Jordan, the worse these countries become. And this is the roots of this is the despair that the Christians are living over there, because they started to live like pagans somehow, or like Muslims, that my source of happiness in life comes from the material world, comes from the good conditions, comes from luxury, comes from being westernized, identifying myself with the Western world and not with my roots, and starting to feel they are strangers in their own land, because essentially this is the land for Christianity. And the more Christians who leave these countries and the more educated and cultivated and open-minded Muslims leave the country, the more extreme it gets. And this is why we say, and also I want to give them the credit because I learned it from them, that the help we are offering the people over there is not the main target. It's a side product, because I cannot talk with someone about culture and openness and many topics if he has a basic need like the shelter not provided. It will be insensitive. So when we are trying to help them, because we know that the human being has many aspects or dimensions in their lives and they all need to be met. And by enabling this message of love and communion flowing from here, from the branches to the root, it also gives life to the root. And the roots need to realize again that they are there not because they should be more as a tribe. And I'm not a Christian because it's a tribal identification. I am a Christian, but I don't go to church. I just wear a big cross around my neck, but it's for fashion. And I will beat the guy in front of me because he offended Christ. And not realizing by beating this guy, you offended Christ yourself. So realizing that they are the light and the salt is very important. I know from myself, it took me a long while to realize that I didn't know that not everyone is not called to be a Christian. Because if everyone is called to be a Christian, then who will be the salt? If everyone is called to be the light, who's going to be where's the darkness? And this is also what Przemysław mentioned today in his homily, that we have this wrong perception that Holy Spirit is only given to Christians. No, Holy Spirit is everywhere, except that we Christians, we know that we collaborate with Him, but He has the ability to make people breathe, create good things, create beauty in everyone, but they just don't realize it. Otherwise, they will be just animals in human forms. And we're not that different, but the difference is that we get the learning. So when we focus on the mission to help everyone there, and especially focused on the Christian community there, because their needs are not met and they are suffering from also the division. You had the Holy Mass yesterday in the cathedral. Do you realize, can you imagine a country where you live in where you have 18 confessions? We have more than 10 churches in a very small country. And there are all the time, instead of focusing on what's good for the Christians and how the Christians can help, they are focusing on Maronite or Orthodox. Do you make the sign of the cross with 5 fingers or with 3? It's like, and they don't realize that they are stuck there. So here it is, as I can see, maybe a branch has the leaves and the leaves are capturing the light and they're sending to the roots a message and the nutrients, because the roots, they need to go deeper and deeper, not to detach from the soil. It's a problem. It's a problem, and I think all Europe realized it when the floods of immigrants were coming. If they had good countries, they wouldn't have left their countries, but they will not have good countries if the Christians kept on leaving the countries. So this is why we are in the Middle East. The main support is this cultural exchange we have, that people from Poland are thinking about you, and we can share art, music, cultural activities, visions. We have the projects Gardens of Lebanon that maybe Marek can explain about it now. And we have people over there being touched that we actually mean for them. someone out there in Europe actually realized that we are in this land and we are suffering. And many of us don't want to leave, but sometimes we have to sell everything and leave. You want to tell about gardens a bit?
I have no choice. With pleasure.
But maybe first, because you also asked a question and I think it wasn't answered.
Yes.
So maybe someone would like to answer.
I would like to add on to it as well. The question of what do we think about the connection between Europe and the Middle East, right? I think overall it is a very good thing for similar reasons that you already mentioned, about most importantly the cultural exchange. And I mentioned this because from my own personal experience I can at least say that it is something that is quite effective for both parties, I would say. I had the fortune to have both a roommate from Pakistan and from Egypt, and they are both Muslims as well. And since we're all religious, we were talking about our religion and what we do things, our culture, how we behave, and just simply speaking about how we all live our lives. That kind of helps solidify my own faith and my own connection with God in a way. And I think just being able to converse about it like that is beneficial for everyone.
It is. Thank you.
Gardens of Lebanon.
Gardens of Lebanon.
It's one of the most beautiful projects, which also is a kind of miracle of God. It's a long story. And the Gardens of Lebanon is a fruit of this story, of this adventure with Magda.
Yes.
How art
I
can
think there
heal.
are two ways which are crossing in those gardens. One is the way how we've met the author. Her name is Magda. She's our volunteer, let's say, but she's artist. She's writing icons and doing many amazing things. So there was a story, you know, General Anders, probably most of you, if there are foreigners. So he was one of the generals who were first in prisons with the Polish soldiers in the Soviet Union. And then he was released, but his army, with a lot of families and the refugees, actually, we would say, was marching through the Persia, Syria, Iraq, Syria, Palestine, and then went through Libya, I think, to Italy.
Egypt, Italy.
So they had a bird with them, but about the bird maybe we can talk later. Okay, so they stopped in one of the places in Syria. They were sick, and the people of this place called Marula, it's a village where still people speak Aramaic, the language of Jesus. Yeah. They helped them, so he gave 2 icons. And those icons survived till the civil war. During this war, one was definitely destroyed because we found the pieces, and the other maybe was stolen. And we went there once, and Father Mark spontaneously said, let's make a copies. And we started to search for an artist, and Magda appears. And she made those copies. We gave it to the church, and then our collaboration with her continues. She said, let's use we're always fighting a neutral platform to how to make a project, not touching politics, not causing some problems. So we're thinking this bear is very interesting because he was adopted by the Polish army in Persia, and they took him, and there is a lot of funny stories with him. How he was stealing the cigarettes or beer from them, helping them, and he was a part of the family. His name was Wojtek. So she created the project Wojtek Helps, and which was later implemented as activity for the kids. We are using the Wojtek till now to have a workshop with the kids, because it's a friendly character, you know. And Magda once visited Lebanon. She was so touched about what she saw after the explosion that she came back to Poland and she talked to the other artist. It was a female, first edition, and they make works connected to the Lebanon while not knowing Lebanon, but only based on her experience. We took those works, we presented them in Lebanon, then we presented them
Based on photos from the explosion.
Yes, based on photos from the explosion. Yeah. So 16 Polish artists participated, then we sold them in Poland, and we created another edition. But with another edition came also workshops, Young Gardens of Lebanon, for the kids of Lebanon and
Kids from Poland.
Yes, and Poland. Now we had the 3rd edition, which was stopped by the war. We had idea to present it, but it didn't work. But now we are working on it. We present the ripped gardens of Lebanon, because some work stayed in Poland, some were already in Lebanon, and now we take them all and we will continue. But the thing about this story is maybe that it's like fulfilling this what we were talking about the mission, that we started to visit people who were broken, and then we started to implement the art. And some people are saying, why the art people, they don't have food and so on. But it gave a lot of peace to them. Now after the war also. Because we realized that the human, let's say humanitarian aid can dehumanize people. Because they make them passive. They learn them how to take. They rip them out of dignity. You know, we were meeting people in Lebanon and Syria who were dressed in the suits, because they wanted to show the poverty, and then we were going to their houses which were totally damaged. And this helped them to get their strength back. It was very important, and also it shows that this is our mission, because they were the same people visiting us who were helped at the first days with restorations. And their children were participating in Gardens of Lebanon or workshops of the Wojtek. So this is what Sumar was saying, that we are trying to come back to those families. Because there is no successful story, as the NGOs claims. He opened the shop. Okay, but what happened after 1 year? We have the situations when we opened the shop and the guy closed it because he didn't have money for the generator later, because the price of the fuel goes so high.
You need to explain that in Lebanon we have a problem with power supply. So we rely on private generators and the bills keep on hiking, and some people just need to give up on the idea of having electricity if they cannot install solar panels.
Successful stories are on the way, always.
Yeah. In fact, this is because these years of association, it really taught us a concrete strategy, how we act. And this is something which is really exceptional, I think. We had really, God gave us this opportunity to teach us how to act. Because when we talk about this idea of icons and many others, we started like foolish children. When we smiled at these first movements, no? It was so naive, it was so unexperienced, but anyway we had this capacity to learn. So our strategy is somehow easy and difficult, because we always start with a meeting. We must meet people whom we help. Second, we must get to know each other. Not only them, but they must get to know us. And we collaborate. We don't have a project which was thought out and realized by us only with hands of people being there. So that's why very often people ask us, I have this idea, what can we do? But we don't know you. We need to know. And another thing is that our answer is that if we did something together, we don't finish with collaboration because we know each other. That's why exactly this is the thing. The guy with whom we realized the renovation of the shop, he knows us. So if there is any other thing, we are here. We don't disappear. We are somehow responsible for these relations, because we constructed bridge. We are not a tent of the battlefield. That there is a war there, so we construct a camp and we move because there is we are a bridge, and you don't change the bridge when it's constructed, as long as a river is there. So this strategy is really basic for us. Sometimes it makes that we are working slower because we don't have any contacts there. We don't jump because there's a new earthquake in South America, so everyone is watching there. If we would be there, all lights and camera would be on us. It is the case of Lebanon, in fact, because we were in Beirut. I was with Maciek in the port when it exploded. It was exactly in the port. I was just, I went to the port 5 minutes before the explosion, fortunately a bit farther. But we were waiting for visas to Syria because we had no projects in Lebanon. Lebanon was for us just a passage. We were waiting for visas. We took flight to Beirut. We were waiting for a visa, and visas were late. We wanted to come back, but we were still waiting, and suddenly this happened. We didn't provoke it, to be sure. Okay, it's not our responsibility that this.
You're excused. By mistake.
We didn't plan this. We have no responsibility for this, but it just happened, and it happened by chance that people got to know that I was there, a priest from Poland, a president of association. 3 days I spent as a journalist, connection, hi, news, but it put us at the spotlight of the interest of the whole world. And it was the moment that people donated. And you have no idea how temptative it is to be in every place where it is disaster. We saw it next time. After earthquake, everyone came to be present still because when attention of the world is attracted by an event. And we don't do this. We are not jumping. We are just developing normally by contacts, by our relations, by this what God is giving us in His providence. And with this strategy, this is what Sumar said, we are with people, and every human being has different dimensions. So in fact, this collaboration is in all dimensions of human life. Sometimes we collaborate to satisfy basic needs, because these are basic needs: food, shelter, heating during winter. But it's not this what makes humans. It's a part of humanity. If we focus on this, we will still dehumanize people. That they change in an animal who needs to eat. But no, one of our first project was support of Franciscan who wanted in Aleppo a swimming pool for children. During the war, it was civil war, and they were looking for money to construct a sports center for children in Aleppo, and we started to look for money to support the swimming pool. And I remember how many times there was a question, why people in Aleppo needs a swimming pool? Why the children in Aleppo needs a swimming pool? And the answer is easy. Just remove in Aleppo. Do children need swimming pool? Of course. Do children in Aleppo need swimming pool? What is the difference between a child in Aleppo and a child in Krakow? There is no difference. Children in Aleppo need food, like children in Krakow, but children in Aleppo need a culture. They need to develop the physical skills, like children in Krakow. So we really developed this project in different dimensions, from basic needs to culture, through education and work. That's why we have these projects which support satisfaction of basic needs. We have this project First Step and Next Step. Second step, but let's hope we have the last step. This is a kind of job, because we have a project First Step, we support children of primary education. Some projects for higher education or secondary education is Second Step, and we are still thinking about high studies. It will be Next Step, and we still think about the third generation, elderly people. Last step to support University of. Don't tell your grandma that you are joking like that. Anyway, we have this support of education, and we have this support of people who needs to work, because this is one of the lies, that people are waiting only for food and for shelter and for easy money. People want to work with dignity, and we have this project Give a Job. We do it in Aleppo, we do it in Lebanon. Now we try to implement it also in countries in Africa which generate migration because of this. Give a job. And this is one of the most beautiful projects when people are really so happy that they can work. First project still working. We visited these guys from Aleppo. It was 7 years, no? 6-7 years. We gave some small amount of money to a guy to buy a coffee machine for after the civil war in Aleppo, because he had a coffee and during the war everything was stolen.
This one later.
What was
18 or 19, yes.
Yeah, so it was one of the ones first of the, and we gave him I think it was 2,000, 3,000 no 10,000 zlotys, 2,000 euro, because it's a professional coffee machine, used one, because we knew that we cannot export him the newest machine from France, because if something doesn't work, how he will fix it?
Or they will steal it.
Or they will steal it. So it was bought at the place, used one, and it worked. And now we visited him a year ago. Gosh, I thought that he failed in his business, because he had a small shop inside the building, and we entered there is nothing. I said, okay, it failed. And we go out, and in the main street, in the best place, Wallace has a bigger shop, and his coffee machine is still there.
And he's still suspicious.
Yes.
Not smiling.
Not his face is always.
He's always, yes. He's very serious in selling coffee.
Yeah, but this project, Give a Job, is one of the most important, and the final is culture. This was really touching that in Lebanon, in all this crisis, we have a book corner. We renovated a small part of the bigger part of the parish buildings, and there are youth who organize meetings where they discuss books and literature.
And believe me, the discussions sometimes are not easy, with all ages attending.
But you know, when you listen in the media about Beirut and Syria, why a book corner? They need no, but every human being has these needs. So this is, and that's why, and this complicity of these needs is basic. You cannot, because it became funny if you organize some high culture event with people who are hungry. One of the most funny, like Saint Teresa said, that we should laugh if we shouldn't cry. When we visited Aleppo, you remember? First visit in Aleppo, in the old town, which was totally devastated by bombing, old city, we saw the new, how you say it,
Trash
cans, new for recycling. Green for paper, red.
Yes.
Gosh, and it was really ridiculous, but we understand how it works. You know, there is some friend who has a friend, we have end of the year, we have still a budget for ecological project, we have to write a project, we will send you. And it was waste of money. There was no people in the city, totally destroyed, but they are ready to recycle the trashes. So if they come back, if they recruit at their houses, things are already there. But it comes from this that they have never met people there. They don't know people, and they don't collaborate. They use funds, they use procedures, but sometimes they do good, sometimes they waste money like this. So our experience is really particular with this strategy to meet, to get to know each other, and to collaborate, and with all these 4 dimensions of every activity. Not only humanitarian support, but also culture and education and work.
I would like to give this example in Beirut of a job for someone who had who's a coach, a training coach, Mark, and he was in the building of the fitness club that collapsed after the blast. So they took him out from the rubble. He was wounded. And he had this dream to have his own pizzeria that he opens for from Thursday to Sunday. So first he was very angry when we met him at the street, and he said, "You can help, and I have this and this." And we were like, "Oh my God, what's this man?" He was always shouting in the neighborhood and fighting with all NGOs. And we helped him to have another industrial fridge so he can store the dough that he makes himself, because pizza is his passion. We helped providing him with restorations in his workplace. After 2 years, he managed to rent a space from the municipality of Beirut, and he expanded an outdoor place that he needed like a fence where he will install the tables and structure to also host outdoors customers. And it worked. And it always touches me that after the second memorial for the blast and the explosion in Beirut, and with all the coverage of the media and the people, this atmosphere of despair and sadness, we leave the area over there because we were attending, and we are walking the area of St. Michael Street. We call it Mar Mkhail. The neighborhood is also a famous cultural place where you have pubs and coffee shops, and people from different communities gather to like a neutral space for them. And everyone was closed that day. Even some people were afraid to open because they did not want this rage on them, that how dare you open on such a day. And Mark was open. Of course, we were hungry, we were thirsty, but we ended up with wine. And we sit there and we eat. And then when we are asking him, how come you are open when everyone is there at the port? And I still remember his words. he says, I'm done dying. I'm done grieving. I want to move on. And till today, I have big respect to this man. Not that he doesn't shout. He still shouts in the streets. And he still has ideas, but the pizza he makes is one of the best in Beirut. And the passion for his job, for what he does, is really obvious for everyone. Regardless the situation, with his mother and his girlfriend helping at the tables. And for his perseverance that I will make it work no matter what. I'm determined not to close and not to do anything else. I will make it work. And really, I think he serves as a very good example over there. Yes, and they had the chance to swim in Aleppo in the pool this summer when we went.
Oh, really?
Yes. Because Father Samhar agreed. They closed it at 6,
yeah.
But because they looked at him this way, he opened and showed them, and yes.
I was swimming, yeah, when it was done, but because our last visit they went along without me, but the previous last the water was not clean, so they have to.
And it was still cold when we went in April.
But it's not cold.
For you, not cold, but.
For us, cold.
Yes, for us, and then you can imagine. I'm like feeling here like it's the North Pole, but I'm trying to cope.
Any questions? Any words? You don't need to ask. You can share what you think.
I'd like to ask one thing, but if you don't want to answer, it's okay. There are plenty of success stories, I'm sure, but along with that, of course, comes times where everything didn't work out as well, and perhaps some people failed in their businesses or something like that. So if a situation like that does happen, how generally do you deal with it, or accept it, or move on, or how is it done?
Well, it depends on the situation. I mean, we had a situation where we restored the house of the person, but they never returned. They decided to stay in their village, for example. Now, but it always serves a lesson, because even if they didn't move, they can rent it, and this is like a source of income, so it's never a waste of money. For the give a job, when there's a project, you cannot really say that, because we know that the situation is difficult in the country, even in Syria, in Aleppo. You can never say that this one will work or this one will fail. You never know how people will pick up. The good thing about our countries is that there is always this talent to work around things. And maybe people will close after a while, but it's just by giving them the chance is a strong sign. Because if we are going to think like a commercial institution, and wait for if it's worth the investment or not, it doesn't work this way. We're not going to be doing mission. We will be investing for the long term. Okay, so we need to accept the fact that it might work and it might not work, and the situation is not easy on the spot. I mean, I get to feel sometimes angry. But there are always ways. It's not about, this is why we don't count success stories that the success is on the way, because it's life, it's a human life. You cannot sum it up with failures and success.
So, this is a very good question, so I would like to answer too, okay, may I?
Yes, of course, you're asking my
Because first of all, I think that we must say that we didn't really experience a failure in our strategy. What means meeting is always, it happens. It's, of course, if someone is late and we don't wait longer, it's a failure. But meeting is second is getting to know each other, and the biggest failure will be to collaborate with someone who has different intention, who has different values, but we didn't. Very often we met someone, we started to get to know each other, and we realized that fortunately we didn't start to collaborate. And we have this kind of, but is it a failure or a success? We didn't succeed because we didn't reach the collaboration. Because this is the stage when we really succeed our strategy and we start to do. But in the same time, we did succeed. Because this strategy is to avoid. And second, when we do this kind of projects, of course, what is the measure of success? Because this, for instance, we had in Aleppo, next to this guy who has still this shop, it's with a successful story, we met a guy who had to close his shop. We also give money. But what does it, is it a failure or not? Because for instance, we gave him $1,000. And thanks to this, during 2 years, he was working and paying salary for himself and for the others. And so we created this 2 years of work. It's a success. And even if someone failed a bit earlier than and so he didn't earn this what we donate to make it equal, that we satisfied that we gave him and he earned. Even this what she said, the support and the presence gave him the chance. The same we have, for instance, even in Europe, we cannot imagine how much our governments invest in startups and how many fail. But the failure is a lesson. So this is always, you must start and so this is, I think that every time it is kind of failure and success. So this is that's why we don't count success stories, but but also we learn, but we don't speak too much about failures. A paradoxal meeting with Abuna Elia and with Sumar, it was one of the fruit of our failures. Because in fact we really got to know a lot of priests in Middle East with whom we didn't want to collaborate. Because we met them, but when we started to get to know each other, we realized that no, sorry, it's not. There is a guy who is asking me for a support for his poor students from Syria. I said, okay, so let's meet in your house. And he's coming to take me from the Shubra church with a Land Rover. Marek is going to my priest friend and he's telling him a story how much money he needs to support his group of singers, musicians, and he needs money to buy them instruments. They talk, and at the end, come, I will show you the collection of my signets. Gold and silver and gold. So is it a success or a failure? And first time when we worked in this Beirut place and we knew that we will go to this priest and we will propose him to collaborate.
Let him tell the story how he told me.
I started with the first statement, but Father, we will not reconstruct your house. The money is not for you, the money is for your people. Later when I got to know him closer, I was so ashamed of this question, because this guy was up, of course not. Of course not. This is, I will always, I have much more connections, I have much more support. I don't need this support because I already have, these people need help. And and this is, we still were making fun of this because I started as if he was one of these who has signets but he needs help from outside, who has a Land Rover, but please help us. There is another guy from Wadi Nasara. Gosh, they fortunately we went there to see. And of course they support us because they need money for education, for school, etc. And I see how they live, how they have apartments, what kind of food they eat, what cars they have. And I realized that he's asking me to ask Polish people who are poorer than these people to donate them because they are Syrians in the country of war. But the fact is that when I stand after the mass with the basket asking for donations, I see these people who donate. They don't have these cars like these rich Christians there. They don't have this food every day like they have. They don't have these apartments. Of course, they were not forced to displace from city to another village. But it's not so easy that they are poorer and they are richer. So this moment of, there are a lot of failures like this, that we wanted to get to know and to collaborate, we must withdraw. It's not a moment, it's not a person, we cannot do this. The same sometimes we failed sometimes. There were people who met us and they recognized that we are not serious. So There is Grażyna, who maybe when she published this book, so you can read about us. That first time fortunately she was passionate enough. That first time she met us, she said never ever don't collaborate with them. They are not organized, they are crazy guys, I don't know what they are looking here in Ukraine. So probably there are many others, people who will say about us that it was a failure. But it's difficult to judge what is really a failure. Definitive failure, it never exists, like definite success.
Can I say something about this? I'd like to add, maybe it will also be helpful for your question. We had the situations when we maybe took the wrong decisions. Okay, I will tell you why. The situation after the explosion was very dynamic, and we concluded that we want to help together with the restoration, with sheltering, let's say, how they say, and with the workplaces, because we assume that if he has work, he will have bread. And maybe he will have money to replace the window. Yeah. But then we realized that some people asked us to help them with the work. And we thought, okay, they are affected by the war. There was a case of one person who lost his father. It was man in my age, let's say, yeah? So he should work. He was not able, he doesn't have money, he's completely mess, he didn't receive psychological support, completely mess.
He carried his
Yes,
dead
but
father.
he wants to work, he wants to have a small shop, okay? So we said, okay, this will be good because he will have a work, yeah? And we help him, okay? But he never, when the time comes, he never opened this shop.
No, his
Okay?
mother is
And
using
the
it.
question is, now we can analyze, we can be wise, okay, maybe we should, I don't know, make a psychological test for him or something. Of course, we will not do that, yeah? Because, so there are stories like this, that we made mistake after. But even we meet this guy, we ask for him, and we help his mother. Okay, so of course we have, let's say, more than 100 families there who were helped one way or another in this area only. Yeah, so we are not able to visit them all because we have Syria, we had war, we have villages at the south of Lebanon. It's growing. Yeah. But we keep him in mind and we are walking there and we will ask. We will come sooner or later, maybe in 1 month, maybe in 2. We will see what's the situation, his situation and his mother's situation. But we know that he needs psychological help now. We know that nothing will help him if he will not solve this issue with the professional. Okay?
Is it midnight?
Okay, so maybe if there are no other questions, we can finish.
Yes.
But if you would like to stay with us for just a few minutes more,
Unofficial part.
it would be great because maybe some other questions will appear behind the cameras. So yeah, for now,
You're scaring them.
to thank you very much for your presence, for the words that you
Thank
told
you.
us. I think it was great to hear all these heartwarming histories, and it was, for me personally, it was great to hear that you need to bring the normality to those people, to the normal life, not just the priorities, but to make them feel like before the war, like before everything. So it was very great that we could hear it, and let's hope it will bring great fruits. And we also would like to help other people. So yeah, once again, thank you very much for being here with us. Thank you for your presence.
Thank you.
And I think
Thank
we
you
can
for your presence.